This is Margaret from Gold. And you're listening to the New Wave Music Podcast.
Welcome back to a special episode of Don't You Forget About Me, the New Wave Music Podcast. This is T-Bone. And, we've been doing this a few times now with our new music spotlight. We're introducing you to some bands that are not necessarily from that new wave era, but they do have kind of a new wave-ish indie kind of sound. This time we're going to be talking to Ben Gray of the band Dear Boy. So I'm going to turn this over to Steve.
Today, I'm thrilled to be speaking with a band that I've been a huge fan of for the last few years. And those of you that have been following the podcast know I've been a big fan and playing them a lot. Dear Boy, they just released their new album, Forever Sometimes. Today, I'm joined by Ben Gray from Dear Boy. Ben, welcome, and thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege.
So, Ben, just kind of get the obvious question out of the way. Is there a story behind the name of the band, Dear Boy?
There is. I mean, there have been a lot of fan theories, but what happened was we started this band in the UK. A bunch of us just moved there, just trying to shake up our whole thing. And we had been writing for months and not really knowing what direction or what the vision was for the project. And just one night on Thanksgiving, we were in a restaurant in London and a little bit dejected to be away from our family and everybody. And then a waitress just came up to me and said, things are going to look up, Dear Boy. And it was sort of one of those cosmic little things. And we immediately got on our phones to make sure that wasn't a band. And that's what happened.
Wow, that's quite a way to get a good band name.
just go in dejected somewhere and see how that works out for you.
Can you tell us who else is in the band and what is their role?
Yeah, we have Keith Cooper on drums and vocals, and he engineers most of our recordings. Austin Heyman on lead guitar and vocals, and then Lucy Lawrence on bass and vocals.
Nice. How did you and the other band members come together? Were they all original members, or did you pick up some along the way?
For the most part, Lucy is the newest addition, but we all just kind of knew each other from the LA music community. I think a lot of times bands, when you start making music, you start with your friends and you learn to be in a band later. But for us, it was the opposite. We had been in bands for years and years and years, but it wasn't until Dear Boy that we started something with our friends first.
Nice. So one question I'm really curious to find out is, Ben, what are your musical influences, or who are your musical influences?
I mean, how long do you have? It's really the question. I think there's a ton. I mean, it's like, it's quite it's quite an ambrosia for all of us, but I think like our shared influences, and I think really kind of what informs how we approach music, is sort of late 70s, early 80s post-punk, and then early 90s Britpop. But really, like, it depends on how deep you want to get into it. But usually we tell people that it's like if Factory Records and Creation Records put out the same band.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to be. We're so heavily influenced by lives we've never lived, and there's something about us discovering it, not swept up in the buzz of actually living through those experiences and those scenes. That the fact that music found us and touched us in a way is something that, for us, we're trying to do our best to channel and honor that music and that art while creating something that is of this time and for people our age.
I was first introduced to Dear Boy back in 2019. I believe you were on tour with James and the Psychedelic Furs.
Oh, yeah.
A few weeks before I was going to the show, I came across an article that basically said, do not arrive late. Make sure you see them. There'll be a highlight on the tour. And that article did not lie.
Oh, man. Thank you so much.
How did you end up on tour with the Psychedelic Furs In James?
It is crazy. We covered, I mean, I honestly don't know exactly how it happened. We did cover The Ghost in You for a 7-inch when we first started this band. And I knew that Richard Butler, I knew that it got to him somehow. And he had posted something, or the Furs had posted something about it. And for us, that was enough. It was like, I can't believe they know we exist. The creators of this music are into what we did. We felt like we honored them. So it was a thrill, And then they came to Los Angeles maybe like the following year, and they played the Terrarium, and they invited us to come see them randomly. And that was a thrill. And we got up to the box office and we realized we had backstage passes, and I was like, well, that's cool. And as soon as we walked backstage after the show, Richard saw us from down the hall and just yelled the band name. So it was like a really crazy thing. So then it felt like a tractor beam just pulled us in, and we met him, and he was very cool. And that was kind of it. And randomly, we just got asked to do it. In 2019, I don't know what it was, but something jogged his memory or their memory, and they thought it would be a good fit. And we got to do one of the craziest, most fun things we've ever done after that.
Nice. Well, part of my question was going to be about your cover of The Ghost in You. It's an already amazing Psychedelic Furs song. You guys take it to a whole nother level. Either one of the Butler brothers get a chance to give you any feedback on on your version of the song?
Yeah, I mean, once we were on tour, they kept trying to they were cajoling us to play it every night on the tour, and I didn't. It felt like a trap. They're like, come on, and they loved it. I mean, Tim is more circumspect. He's not. He's really cool, but he doesn't like to pre-show, especially get in and hang. Whereas Richard is a very likes to kind of hold court and is just a really outwardly gregarious person. So he'll tell you what he thinks. Bad. So he definitely. He loved the cover, but I recently ran into him because they played in LA a couple weeks ago, and he invited us to the show, and he did tease us a little bit about the name of the record. He was like, "Forever Sometimes, huh?" He's like, "I hope I get credit for the name," and I was like, "Don't you do this to me? It's not the same." But they're like really fun older brothers to us.
Sounds like you had a fun tour with them.
Yeah, I'm in a group chat with Richard and Tim Booth. The three of us are in a group text, and their emoji usage is really brilliant, perfect.
That's awesome. Sounds like you found some good mentors for you.
Exactly. Well, that's the other thing is like when you're playing every night with heroes of yours, it's I mean, you feel it's so out of body. I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world to finish a song and look side stage and to see, members of James and the Furs like watching you play. It's that those things have imprinted on me and all of us. I still can't believe any of that happened.
Needless to say, after seeing your band and hearing such songs as Anything at All, and Semester, I was hooked and a huge fan since. But what really stuck with me was the closing song you did for your set, Hesitation Waltz.
How about a dance with the rest? It takes more than a song to keep me impressed or
That's a song to close out a set.
Thank you so much, man.
Can you tell me maybe how that song came to be, or kind of a little bit about that song?
Sure. I think this might be the first question about Hesitation Waltz I've ever received. So let me put on my suit. So when that was a song that kind of existed in various forms since I was like a teenager. Originally it had a whole different ending. Like I'd always tried to make it work in whatever band I was in. And there's so many different versions. There's so many different demos of it. It's just something that I started writing when I was like a teenager, and it didn't really fully form until I was in my 20s. And yeah, I brought it to the band. You know, I brought it into the room, and I was like, there's this song from forever ago, but I feel like there's something in its DNA that feels like it belongs here with this band. And it came together really, really quickly. You know, it's one of those things where you put a living thing with 4 creative people, and it just sort of takes over in a direction that organically chooses itself. So it was really fast, really organic, and I don't think we could play a set without it now.
Yeah, and I hope you keep that on your set. Like I said, that's a great way to close out a set.
Thank you. So it's one of my favorite moments because I get to kind of really let go of everything. Like I feel like that's just like it's a fun celebratory moment for all of us.
So you currently have also 3 EPs with Dear Boy. You have the self-titled Dear Boy, parts of the Flower EP, and the Strawberry EP, which all feature amazing songs like Green Eyes.
When there's no place left to go, I will meet you down below. And when there's no one left to find, we won't need this place to hide.
Alora.
You'll never love me someday. Oh, Gloria, oh, give me a reason to stay.
And Limelight.
Till we sour on the limelight. Kiss me like I'm leaving. Hold me till we're even. Every night. Till we're blacking out the white lights. Oh.
It's interesting to hear the band evolve over those EPs and grow. Did you find success early on with these EPs, or were they more of a labor of love?
The success is such a tricky thing, you know, because it's sort of in the eye of the beholder. Like for us, we've been an independent band up until late last year. And so our version of success is measured in ways of like who found it and how did they find it and what did they do once they found it. You know, like with our audience, and connection is really paramount for us. And, you know, if people are fulfilled by the things that we make and we're fulfilled by the exchange of energy, then that is success to us. We've never really cared about metrics and streaming and all of that. Like that just has never been part of our world or what we really care about. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like for us, it just doesn't, it's kind of stands in defiance of why we do this. So we did have success in that, you know, whenever we headline, especially in California, it's pretty crazy. You know, like our fans there's a familial feeling. You know, we feel very connected, and there's a very cathartic thing that happens when we play. So there's always been success in that we have never. I mean, we've played to empty rooms, but we've not really, and that's something we're really, really grateful for. And we get to make the music the way we want to make it. So we've always felt very lucky, and we felt successful. We've been able to celebrate even like the smallest of wins. So like when there's something giant that happens, like playing the Greek or getting to play to 10,000 people in Mexico, you know, it's like those things to us are worth celebrating the same as, getting a handwritten note at a show from somebody who, a song of ours is connected, or they feel connected to a song of ours. So, I feel like we feel success in the EPs just because they've helped build us to what we are today.
And you kind of touched base on it. I was surprised. Like I said, I've been following the band for a while. You guys have quite a big following, it looks like, in Mexico as well. Is there any location or place that you're maybe just kind of blown away with how much you've already reached that area or have a fan base in?
Yeah. I mean, I'm blown away by so much of this whole thing, because when we started the band and when I started playing music, I never really thought that this could be something I would do with my life or have it be a career. So when we played Mexico City for the first time, it was deeply surprising. I mean, the reason we got this festival is we had played a random show for Live Nation on our day off during the first tour, and we made a really great friend who just randomly was there. His name is Bruce Moran, and he just was like, I love this. He's like, do you want to play Corona Capital in Mexico City? And we were, yes, please. And we didn't have an agent at the time. We didn't have a label, and we were the only unsigned band on this giant festival. I mean, like the Strokes were playing and Billie Eilish was playing, and Interpol and Block Party and Franz Ferdinand. It was just this massive festival. And I just remember the night before we went to the festival and the B-52s played, and we watched the Strokes. We watched the Strokes play to like 100,000 people. And we were playing the next day. And I just remember thinking, like, this is a band playing at the highest possible level to 100,000 people. I was like, who is going to come see us tomorrow? I could not fathom that anyone would come see a band they've never heard of, who didn't have a record out in the territory. And we just got really nervous. So we couldn't really sleep. And the next morning we sound checked in the tent that fits 10,000 people. And we're just like, no one's coming to this. There's no way anyone's coming to this. And we started doing that kind of self-talk of, if 50 people come, it's a success. If then it's a huge deal. And when we came back, the golf cart took us back to backstage, and we heard kind of rumbling, and we looked outside, and I think there's like 500 people out there. I said, well, this is fabulous. Like, great. It's huge success. And then like minutes passed by, I'm like, I think there might be like 1,000 people out there. And then by the time we got out, it was like at half capacity, 5,000 people. And then by the end, it was like completely full, and people knew every word to our songs. And it was this intensely emotional thing for us, because to be in a new city, in a new country, with people who have never heard you or never seen you, and to have done it with just the four of us, really, like no team, we had no crazy like thing happen. It was just the four of us and our friend, and we were our own crew, and we're here and playing these songs we care about and love to strangers who are no longer strangers. It's very emotional. So this is a long-winded answer, but I just wanted to say that it's not lost on us what an amazing opportunity it is.
So your first full album is out now, Forever Sometimes. Right. This is something that you started teasing back in, I believe, 2020 with the song The Nominee.
So what? Won't you come and free the nominee? Release me.
And last year with the songs On My Mind. And the other singles, Say When.
You think we're fine on our own, they'll never leave us alone. You think I won't run again, but you just need to say when, say when, say when, say when, say when.
Wet Clothes.
Life, I follow that sound. Maybe you're with him, maybe you're nowhere, but when the rain's coming down, you're with me in wet clothes, in wet clothes.
and the title track, Forever Sometime.
Show me only. Well, at least now you know. Well, at least now you know why I disappear forever sometimes.
What can you tell us about the album?
Firstly, I just say it's a surreal thing to talk about the album at all, because we started recording it in February of 2020, or we had the nominee done, then we started breaking ground on the rest of the record, which we had been wanting to make since the first days of the band. And then we ended up doing basic tracks for the first month, like in a proper studio, and then we spent March of 2020 until December of 2020 just working on it 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, just going crazy. And it felt like it would never come out because we were making it in such a small, private way. The idea that this album would ever reach anybody or come out seemed made up. It just didn't seem like a real life thing. So the fact that we're talking about it is deeply cool to me. Anyway, this is our proper handshake with our audience. Even though we've been a band for a long time, releasing singles and touring, like I feel like this is the thing that we've been wanting to make and chasing since the first time we ever plugged in together. There are songs on there that we started when the first few weeks as a band, and there were songs that we finished or started and finished while recording it. Like it represents every kind of moment in this band's trajectory and like in our emotional journey. It's pieced together. So like it's our statement, it's our big swing project. We put all of our time in it, all of our money in it, and it's the thing we hope if the band broke up tomorrow, which it's not, but this is the thing that we would want to be remembered by.
Very cool. Is there any song in particular that you enjoyed writing and recording for the album?
I did. I mean, the whole thing is sort of it's an emotional thing to record anything. But I would say the way that there's a song on the record called Swan Dives that was a very gratifying thing to record.
Tell me how you felt sometimes, unusual like always. Seasick on the subway train, swan dives on a mind.
It's probably the luscious song on the album. We, when we delivered it to mix, it had like an annoying amount of tracks, like hundreds. We just really lost ourselves in that recording. So that was very gratifying because it made us completely forget about the outside world. And we threw pretty much every good idea we could ever pull out. And I would also say that Say When was deeply gratifying because that was a song that we had written a version of that the first month of Dear Boy, and it sounded completely different. And it wasn't until we were like 80% through the record that we knew it needed something. And I just remembered that we had this song that we just never finished. And it was the missing piece to the record. So the idea that we could take something that we had forgotten about and given it new life and given the record the perfect compliment that it needed, just was felt really rewarding. Time is a big theme on the record, and that song especially, like the idea that we could take something when we were in a completely different emotional place, make it relevant to where we are now and where the record is, it was very cool.
One thing that stands out is how well your songs are written and performed. When you can go from a slow tempo song such as Something Good, to Local Roses, to Love Interest.
I'll go blue if I wait for you. Love interest.
And they flow extremely well.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. What is the songwriting process like for you?
Songwriting process is it's different every time, which is kind of what makes it also appealing. I think a lot of artists and a lot of musicians, especially, part of what keeps it so interesting is that anything you were on the precipice of writing your best song at any moment. So the idea that you could hear someone you can mishear something someone said, or there's like someone drops some change on the street, whatever. Like there's just something that will pull you into a creative direction, and then you're already thrust into writing, what could be your best song. So for us, it's constantly evolving. And the way I describe it, whether this is annoying or not, is it's like pickpocketing in the dark. Like you really kind of you're given small clues as to where you're going. And I think regardless if the song starts with me or if it starts in the room, like it always goes through our Dear Boy filter, so like if Keith has a guitar riff, or Austin brings in a guitar riff, or Lucy has some sort of phrase that she's been saying or whatever, like it goes into the pot, and then we do our thing together. So something that is very special when the four of us are working on something together. So yeah, the writing is always different, but it always ends up becoming Dear Boy at the end.
That's a great response. I love that.
Oh, thanks.
When you're performing live, do you or the band have a favorite song that you enjoy to perform in front of the crowd?
Mm-hmm. We all have our favorites, but lately, honestly, I really like playing. I really like playing On My Mind. We've done something a little bit different to the outro, which I love doing. I love playing Limelight. There's a lot of new songs that I'm really liking playing now, because we've spent the last few months rehearsing and learning the record. And there's some stuff in there that I didn't expect to love as much as I do. But I think, those two. And I love playing Semester, and I love playing. What else a song that I used to love playing, we don't play very much anymore, is Green Eyes, just because I remember exactly where I was when we wrote it. And I remember after we wrote that song, I was like, oh, this could be something. So anytime we get to play that, I feel like connected to the beginning of Dear Boy.
So you had a tour plan back in 2021 that unfortunately was canceled.
Yes.
You have a few shows scheduled for LA and New York to promote the album.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any plans for a larger tour?
Yes, there are many plans. There are, I'm sure you've seen and heard, touring is kind of the Wild West right now. So it's like we have things on the books, but we haven't formally announced yet, just because out of an abundance of caution. But like we plan on touring this record extensively for sure. But these two shows, we wanted to just do something celebratory right off the bat. But we plan to be on the road for quite a while.
We really look forward to seeing Dear Boy live again. It's been way too long. What's the best way for our audience to get a hold of your album, your EPs, singles, follow the band?
If you go to dearboyofficial.com, you can buy our vinyl. Like, we just got the records in, and they're so gorgeous. And we have bundles and stuff like that. But otherwise, Instagram, Spotify, everything /DearBoyOfficial, and that's how you can find us.
Ben, thanks again for joining us on the New Wave Music Podcast. I wish you and the band nothing but success with the new album. I hope you and our listeners enjoyed this interview as much as I did.
Thank you so much, Steve. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, that was a fantastic interview, Steve. I really think you showed that they're a band that people who listen to our podcast are really going to enjoy. So again, thanks for listening. And if you have any bands that are either legacy bands from the 80s or early 90s, or new bands like Dear Boy that kind of have that new wave sound, be sure to let us know by emailing us at newwavemusicpodcast@yahoo.com.